the park interpreter at Caprock Canyon State Park.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm the intern here at Caprock Canyon State Park.
Well, Megan, have you ever been misunderstood?
I know I have been misunderstood before, and I know that we know there are some animals that have been misunderstood, mainly bats.
Definitely. And here at Caprock Canyon State Park, we've spent some time to learn about the bats out here and get to know them, especially the Mexican free-tailed bats that live in Clarity Tunnel along our trailway. And we've also done a little bit of video observation for you guys so that you can see what a bat emergence flight is like. And we thought we'd also take some time today to clear up some misinformation about bats so that you can also get to know them very well also. So much information about bats has actually created a sense of fear in many people. So for instance, children really are scared of bats sometimes because they associate bats with vampires. Vampire bats are real. There are 3 different species of vampire bats. They don't live here in Texas. They live in further southern areas in Latin America. But they don't actually suck your blood. So what they do is they have 2 little incisor teeth that they use to bite their prey, which is usually livestock and birds. And then they also have an anticoagulant in their saliva that keeps that blood flowing out. So they actually do not suck blood like society has made a lot of people believe, like they turn into the Draculas. So they actually don't do that. They only lap up the blood that flows out, and they can only lap up around a tablespoon of blood per night. And they're actually beneficial for us. What they do is their anticoagulant in their saliva has actually been used to help people with blood clotting issues. Wow. So even these bats are very beneficial for us.
Well, and I know that many people also believe that bats are more likely to carry rabies, but they're not more likely than any other mammal to carry rabies. And actually, unlike people believe, bats don't become aggressive when they get rabies. They will actually sicken and die pretty quickly.
Right.
However, we probably still shouldn't pick up any bats we see on the ground.
Absolutely.
Because just like other mammals, they can still get rabies, but they just aren't more likely than any other.
Exactly, yeah. Bats are mammals, so they can contract rabies, but it's best to just not pick up a grounded bat if you see it. Hey Megan, have you ever been told you're blind as a bat?
Well, I have pretty good eyesight, Leanne, but I know that I've said that to my friends who have to wear glasses, and when they've forgotten their glasses and can't seem to see things that I can see, I may have called them as blind as a bat before.
Well, that expression was coined from the fact that many people thought that bats were blind in the past. So even misconceptions that are not necessarily bad are still not necessarily true. So many bats actually can see, and in fact, many of them see very well and use their eyesight to find their food. However, insectivorous bats like the Mexican free-tailed bat don't rely on their eyesight to find their food. They rely on something called echolocation that we'll talk about a little bit later. So sometimes even the appearance of a bat can often seem strange and maybe even a little scary for people. So for instance, I've heard people ask, is this animal right here, is it a bird with fur or is it a mouse with wings? And as we've kind of already discussed a little bit, this animal really is a mammal. He has all the characteristics that make him a mammal, from his fur to being warm-blooded to feeding their pups with milk. They have a live birth. All of those characteristics, of course, make it a mammal, but it happens to be a flying mammal, which is pretty strange in and of itself. But this specific bat right here is a Mexican free-tailed bat that lives in Clarity Tunnel and is also the most common type of bat that lives here in Texas. and it happens to also be our state flying mammal. So Megan, let's take a look at the wing structure of a bat in closer detail.
Sure. The bats are members of the order Chiroptera, which means hand wings. And as you can see, they have both arm bones and hand bones. And if we go back to our little Mexican free-tailed bat here, and I'll try to hold this closer, you can see that they have a membrane that stretches over those hand and arm bones.
So another amazing characteristic about the Mexican free-tailed bat and other insectivorous bats is their ability to echolocate, which they share with several other animals in the animal kingdom as well. So when a Mexican free-tailed bat or other insectivorous bat uses echolocation, what they're actually doing is emitting these high-frequency sounds that's actually not audible to our human ears. And they're emitting these at such a high rate of speed that those sounds travel through the air and they bounce off of insects that are flying around in the air, and then those sounds travel back to the keen ears of the bat. And they are able to actually detect something as fine as one single human hair on your head. So Megan, do you think that bats are likely to get tangled up in your hair?
No, I don't think so, Leanne, though I do know that bats can exhibit some strange flying patterns as they're actively honeying those insects.
Yes.
And you know, I have heard the term going batty that people use to express when they think someone going crazy or doing something out of the ordinary or not normal.
Exactly.
And that came from their observations of bats and their flying patterns during their honey.
Yeah, that's right, Megan. But I think the best part about these insectivorous bats is their ability to eat half their body weight in insects every single night.
Wow.
So if we're talking about the numbers of bats that live at Clarity Tunnel, which is about 500,000, they're actually eating around 2,500 pounds of insects every single night, which is definitely a plus. And they're a good friend to the farmer as well, because over 80% of their diet is made up of the cotton bollworm moth that can do considerable damage to cotton crops. So they're definitely very beneficial for us because they are also eating other pesky bugs that we really don't enjoy as much, like the mosquitoes.
So Leanne, how much would I have to eat like a Mexican free-tailed bat?
Well, Megan, you would have to eat over 150 large burgers to top that.
That's a lot of hamburgers.
Exactly.
Leanne.
The high-frequency sounds made by bats using echolocation can be heard using a device simply known as a bat detector.
So Leanne, where can you see these guys alive and flying in Texas?
Well, actually, Megan, Texas is pretty batty, considering that we have over 32 of the 42 known bat species that live in the United States. So you can also see one of the largest urban bat colonies, emergence flight, and it is of the Mexican free-tailed bats that live underneath the Congress Avenue Bridge in Austin. And then you can also see the largest colony of any warm-blooded animal, and that is the over 20 million bats that live in Bracken Cave over by the San Antonio area.
Wow, that's awesome, Leanne. We got to get out there and go see those bats. Well, speaking of bat emergence flights, let's look at what the bat emergence flight looks like here at Clarity Tunnel on the Trailway. We wanted to give y'all a sneak peek of that bat emergence flight, so we went out there and took some video for you guys.
Yeah, especially since we are talking about some of the misconceptions for bats, we wanted you guys to get to know our Mexican free-tailed bats here at Clarity Tunnel better, because the more you know about an animal and the less misunderstandings that there is, the more likely that an animal can be protected and its species can survive. So enjoy the video, and we hope to see you out at Caprock Canyons watching your own bat emergence flight soon.